Thanks for that, Paul. We're live again from the Noman store inside the fabled green screen hangar. I'm Louie Tucci here for Pixelogic, makers of ZBrush. We're here for the ZBrush Summit once again. I'm sitting with Damien Canderle, who just romped his way back in after going to get his hard drive and his keyboard. Another great presentation. Number one, the first presentation of the 2017 ZBrush Summit. How would you describe your experience with the fans? There was a lot of newcomers.
Yes, it's for me. It's also kind of a new stuff, and it's very tiring. I was kind of. It was hard for me.
Right, and the energy in the place is quite electric, I would say.
Yeah,
again, year after year, the same thing.
Yeah, when
new people.
You get this stand-up and ovation, for me, all that, it's crazy.
Quite harrowing, I would
Yes.
say. And you are responsible, if people at home don't realize this is the Damien Canderle, who is actually the creator of the damn standard brush inside of ZBrush. We have this in common. You know, I also have a brush inside of ZBrush.
Oh,
it's
yeah?
called a Toon brush, an IMM brush. And I'm very honored by this. I often tell the students, I say, hey, that's my brush right there. Okay? So
But nobody knows that.
yeah, it's a big deal, right?
You should advertise on that.
Maybe Toon Part 2.
Yes.
You know, here we are, influenced by you. So it's a real pleasure to meet you. A shake on your
pleasure is for me.
This is a great pleasure. Thanks for making the trek. You're originally from Lyon, France.
Yes, I'm from France.
He's made the trek all the way across major ponds,
Man, I had
mountains and rivers to be here. This is your first time at the ZBrush Summit?
Yes.
So it's your first time. It's been going on for some time.
First presentation.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
How are you liking your stay here in Los Angeles so far?
Oh, it's great. The weather, man, it's so nice.
Excellent. I feel the same way. I've lived here for almost 10 years.
Oh, yeah.
So in France is where you reside now.
Yes.
And you're currently working with Blur
Yes,
Studios.
I'm working for Blur.
Okay, so you're working remotely for Blur.
Yeah, it's an off-site work.
It's an offset. He gets to enjoy the French living, French dining, and involve himself with the studio
I get the better of both worlds.
Yeah, the best parts of both worlds, connected to a very... Blur Studios, of course, needs no introduction. Trailers include the ones you've worked on as well, include Assassin's Creed, Deadpool, Halo Wars 2, Mafia 3. Forget about it. We don't know what you're talking about.
I work on almost all the...
Star Wars, Old Republic. Yes. Yeah, that's why I'm mentioning these. We could go on for days. This guy's got a long list, a laundry list worth of accolades.
Yeah.
You know, describe your experiences at Blur. For the people at home, and what are some of your fondest memories or challenges that you and the team have overcome over the years? This is a pretty tricky question.
The teamwork is pretty tricky because I'm off-site.
Right.
I have only the good part of the teamwork because I have people on Skype for meeting and stuff like that. And I kind of always see when I see them in real life. I came to Blur twice. It's only the good part because you meet the people, you go to have a drink and stuff like that.
Right.
But working at home can be also difficult. You have to know what you're doing. I worked in company before. I work for Blur off-site now. Is there both advantage or disadvantage in both ways?
Okay. So you would say that you've made a positive translation or transition rather from working in an actual studio space with others to now being in your own sort of studio space at your home.
Yeah, what I like working at home is I have my setup, my computer.
Right. You can work with no pants on.
Yeah, I did. And I can manage my time way better than working in a space. And I think you working also better because you don't have the distraction of people going around, speaking to you, asking questions. When you at work, you're focusing on your work, and I think you're more productive at the end of the day.
Well said. I think that there is something to be said about that kind of dynamic. And you did allude to the fact that being in contact with the artists and having an interplay with them at some points throughout the year is very good for relationship building as well. That's important not to forget that we are in a very connected sort of space, connected universe. But it doesn't take away from the fact that we should have sort of high levels of emotional intelligence working with others.
It's why I need to come from time to time and see
it's
the
good
real
to see you
person.
and touch you. Look at that. I put my hand on the guy's leg.
Real.
He's a real guy here. Well, it's good to see you here, and I appreciate you being here sitting with me. Tell us about, how did you find your way into this business all the way from Lyon, France? You're a long way from Lyon.
Yeah, I think it's a start because I always like drawing, I like computer, and I don't know, I started working on this industry, and people started to know me. I had the chance that working for a good company, great company, it's what make. I didn't really need to find jobs. The jobs find me. So
Very
it's,
lucky, actually, in that
so
regard. You're a very talented guy anyway, so it
thank
goes
you.
without saying, yeah. And so that brings me to this question. What are some of the, in what ways does your French upbringing influence your aesthetic and design decisions?
My French influences, it's a tough one. I don't think it's French. I think, as I said in the presentation, I have lots of inspiration from different guys on the web. Actually, my inspiration is more real life sculpting.
Like real-life sculpting. When you
Yeah.
say real-life sculpting, you mean traditional sculpting?
Yes,
Okay.
I'm amazed at what some people can do with real clay. I mean, I can do some great stuff with ZBrush. I can print it, it's great, but I won't be able to do that with real clay. So I'm really impressed by that. So
Yeah, there is a definite, there's a tacit feeling when working with traditional mediums.
Yes.
You know, I like to draw and paint as well. And
and
I think,
you can't go back. Once you've done something,
Yeah.
it's very hard to go back.
yeah, and I think that's a point of reference, because I think that there's something that you're laying the cards on the table, you know,
Yes.
when you're involved in a traditional medium. You say, well, an undo now is a very
Yeah,
difficult
it's a lot of
circumstance.
work.
It could be a lot of undos, and it could
Yeah.
be, you know, could be
I-
quite
in
soul-crushing in
yeah.
some ways, you know what I mean?
Yeah, in CG world, you just undo and you redo. It's
Yeah.
quite
And
easy.
I think that's something. But what I wanted to get at was the idea of being in France and, you know, seeing that kind of landscape and those types of people on
Oh.
the streets and things. It's very different than being here in Los Angeles.
Yeah, we have
So-
all the historical culture. The building are actually not the same. The social life, you know, is not the same, and it can influence me. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, and you find that this is what I was trying to get at and go more deeply with you on. I think maybe the sorts of characters you may see on the streets are going to be varied and different than what I see. I mean, my
Yeah,
drive to work.
It's a good point because I think in the United States, people tend to be more standardized. In Europe, you can find more different people. I think it's hard to say why.
He wants different. We've got Hollywood. I'm going to take him out for a walk on Sunset Boulevard later
Oh,
this
yeah, maybe.
evening. And I'll show you different, pal.
Oh yeah, maybe.
Here we go. So when you say different, what do you mean? You mean that here there's a sort of, you say standardized. Let's dig deeper.
People
with this.
tend to look the same.
Interesting.
It's my feeling. It might be totally wrong. Or
No,
is
no,
that?
that's fine. That's why we're here.
Yes.
Yeah,
so-
we have this discourse. We also have something else very strangely in common. We were
Right.
talking earlier off camera, and you mentioned that you had some experience living in Toronto,
Yeah,
which is where I'm originally from.
Yeah.
And so, tell us about that experience, going all the way to Canada.
Well, Toronto has nothing to do with my CG artist career. It was after school. I went 1 year in Toronto to learn English because my English is not very good.
I
But
think your English is fantastic.
Believe me.
Better than my French.
believe me, before Toronto, couldn't speak any
Okay.
English at all.
So it has facilitated something positive for the career because you're able to have this interview with me today.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we'd be in a very
I mean, if you want to
strange
work in CG world, you have to speak English.
Okay.
It's,
Your educational background. This was your post-educational background. What did
Yes.
you study in France?
oh man, I study. What's the name in English?
You can say it in French. There's lots of people around the world.
Economical gestion, managing.
Oh, economics and management.
Yeah.
Oh, this is another thing we have in common.
Yeah, oh, yes.
Yeah, of course, me too.
No, I didn't study history at all because in France there wasn't too many schools at the time.
Okay.
You had to learn stuff by yourself. So I had to go to make some study. I tried economical, but I didn't want to do
Right,
that.
right.
And on my own, I worked on 3G and stuff like that. And I was lucky to find a company that hired me and make. I didn't have any experience, and it started like that.
That's a true
But
success.
I guess it's because I was very motivated. I worked on my own, and it's.
So basically this ties into your career realities is that you've been, you know, you work remotely for Blur and you've been working remotely, you know, since the beginning of your
No.
foray
I
into
started
this.
in some companies.
Right.
I worked in Eden Game. It's a game company.
But I mean, you're used to trying to work to teach
oh,
yourself
yes.
skills. You've never depended really on.
It's very important.
Right.
Even if you're in company, because there's new features of software every time. If you don't even know, if I don't take time to learn stuff, I can be out of the way.
Yeah.
You need to keep track of what's happening.
I think that's a really good point as well, is that you need to be sort of continually growing as a person in the
Yes.
scope of both a designer and a technician
Yeah.
at the same time. I think ZBrush is in the middle of that space where it allows us to sort of bridge the gap between technology and just that visceral aspects of making artwork.
Yeah, but even with ZBrush, you have to keep up with the new features. and
Absolutely.
stuff.
Yeah, more now than ever. I think
Yeah.
there's been a quite robust change
The
of
last-
features
yeah.
over the last point.
I
update.
really like
Absolutely. Me too.
the new
Me too.
features.
There's been so many things that I've been using. You just launched a 3D print gallery.
Yes.
I could go on with this guy for days about all the things he's doing. How does it feel to physically hold the creations finally?
The printer is quite expensive, but
Right.
when you print your character, your 3D model, it's crazy. First time I had my first model printed, I was like, oh, man, this is real. This is not stuff on computer anymore. I can make stuff real.
Yeah.
It's amazing
I
feeling.
think it's wild. The technology that we have available today, like for instance, I was just given a Wacom Mobile Studio Pro.
Oh, yes.
And I'm using a Wacom Studio Pro with 3D printing technology at the same time and with ZBrush. So those three things all together, and we have a whole demonstration happening outside, as you
Yeah.
saw. I mean, the three things together, having that capacity to be able to have a really great tool like a stylus or a Wacom product,
And
and
it
then the ZBrush.
come in life. In
yeah,
real
and then
life
come to life
after,
through a 3D print. I mean, it's really, really sort of inspiring
Yeah, man.
and energizing.
10 years ago, you couldn't imagine
No,
that,
that wouldn't
man.
even be, that's well said. 10 years ago, this wouldn't even be a topic of conversation.
Yeah.
So to be here today talking about that with you is actually really fantastic. The other thing that I wanted to ask you, your rendering, your lighting has always been very dynamic. We were talking about this as well off camera, and what can you tell us about that process a little further? You didn't get a chance to go too much into it.
No,
right?
no, sadly,
You-
the presentation was too short. I guess, yes, lots of people said my lighting...
Very dramatic in its
dramatic
composition,
and
you know?
realistic.
Yeah.
As I said to you earlier, I think when you want to do something realistic, you have to match the real world. You have to know the light, place the light at a real spot, have the camera acting like a real camera, and if at least that's the basic. And you have to study real life too. You have to take pictures of real life stuff, and looking at that, understand why it's working, what is not working. Most of people are trying to make some nice render, but they don't mimic real life, so it's not working.
Right, yeah, they're not taking into consideration the values and the
You
color
need the
spectrum.
depth of field, you need
depth of field,
all this kind of
focal
stuff.
shift and
And
such
you,
things.
you need to understand when you want to put your character at advantage, to put some light. There are some people, their job is just to put light on the subject.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this is a real job. This is very important. You have to take that into consideration.
Yeah, it's a tremendous skill set.
Yes.
I mean, we were talking about this the other day with some students here at the Noman School of Visual
Yes.
Effects, and I was saying, you know, the lighting could be up to 40 weeks worth of study even in a program.
Yeah, I think so.
So it's like 4 different classes, you know, lighting 1, lighting 2, rendering,
Lighting
compositing.
can make your model look
Absolutely.
good or bad.
Absolutely.
So
And the same with poly painting, because I don't want to get too technical, because I'd like to have people know who you are more so than, more as a person, less as a technician. But the color quality as well is something that needs to be taken into consideration, the painting, right? I mean,
Yes.
that's something that's also a big part of your work.
Yeah,
And your process was very interesting.
Yeah, but I mean the poly painting or the 2D printing, it's the same as the sculpture. You need to start very broad to get the idea, the full idea. If you don't have something that's working on a very broad scale, it doesn't matter if you add details.
Yeah.
It won't work anyway.
Yeah,
so
that's a good point.
Yeah, you need to do something very simple. Make sure every color match what you want and working together, and after that you can go to details.
I think that mention as well is coming back to one thing you said. I don't want to get too far off of this. You said that, you know, having pictures of the real world and such things. Are you involved in any kind of photography at all? in your free
I
time?
have a camera, DSLR camera,
Right, cool.
and I like to do pictures and stuff. Sadly, I don't have enough time, but it's something I really like. I have a lot of focal lengths and stuff like that. So yes, I know pretty much how working a camera. It's very important
Yeah.
for the scale of stuff
And also some texture references and
Yes,
such things as
yeah.
well. I find myself looking at things as I'm going around the world now. and I just pause and I'll look at a brick wall and I'll say, oh, look how incredibly
Yeah, man.
sort of
I was
beat up
in
that is.
Venice this summer.
You were in Venice?
Yes.
Oh, wonderful.
And I took picture of just dirt.
Yeah. I hope everyone gets that at home. I hope you can hear that. He was in Venice and he took pictures of dirt.
Oh, yeah, man.
You know, what about the water, man?
Yeah, it's nice, but no, dirt is so nice.
Yeah, you get the dirt. Okay,
Yeah.
so here we are talking about dirt. What else do you do with your free time? Any free time that you do have? What are you up to?
Man, I have kids.
Okay, how many kids you got?
2 daughters.
2 daughters.
Yeah.
Okay, I got 1. So here we are. You beat me by 1 here. This is an interesting thing.
So it takes a lot of time. It's why I didn't post new stuff on internet for so long.
Right.
But they start to getting older, so now I want to do more stuff.
Get your bit of your freedom back.
Yes.
Right, and you just dropped on the ZBrush world today the Canderle Part 2.
Oh, yeah.
The damn standard Part 2, and you were talking briefly for the folks at home who are watching around the world to hear how that brush came to be. Was that you felt there was more dexterity that could be brought out of the damn standard experience, and so we're going into the 2.0 version.
Yes.
With more tight lines and more
I think
defined creases.
I think some people will. It's not useful for everybody, but some people who are doing organic stuff, it will be really good.
I think you said it best while you were in the presentation. You said if you don't like it, don't use it, and I think
Yeah, man.
that's good advice.
It's free. You don't have
Yeah,
to.
it's for free. I mean, you were mentioning outside the building. We talked. If you had charged $1 for that brush, you probably wouldn't have to be here today. So that's a whole other thing. You know, the other thing with your brush, the damn standard one. The first thing that I want to say is that modulating or changing the stroke type
Yes.
has been something that I mess around with for years to create more believable sort of patterns on skins and things. And people see that they say, oh. And I think that's in alignment with something that you demonstrated as well with your process, was talking about the freeze transformation. Freeze subdivisions,
Yes,
right? It's
when
freeze
you get back the
transformations. Look where my
details.
head's at. Yeah, and you get these details that you get to retain. I think that people get kind of afraid when they hear the word freeze.
Yeah,
It kind of helps to freeze them when they see that in the ZBrush world. It says freeze subdivisions.
Yeah,
well, you
freeze.
just push it again.
It's not crushing ZBrush.
It's not going to do anything bad. So don't be afraid to freeze. Is there anything that you feel we haven't talked about that you'd like to make sure that people at home?
No, I'm happy because I was very short on time for the presentation.
Yeah, you were quite. There was it was a
Yeah.
very robust presentation.
I would love to have 1 hour more and to go deep into details for each part, but I succeeded to show everything I wanted to, so I'm kind of happy.
Yeah, and I think you did a great job as well. Like yesterday, were you able to attend any kind of events here on the campus at the Noman School of Visual Effects?
No.
Were you roaming around? No?
No.
Well, I hope that you get a chance to tour the place.
I was at the Sculpt-Off yesterday.
You were at the Sculpt-Off yesterday. Of course, that's what I meant. But after all of that was over, you maybe get a tour of the place. It's very
not
fascinating.
really.
As you can see from we were regaling and enjoying ourselves back here. Of course, back from the same great place, same great faces in the same spot again. Look behind us, we can see the really, really great resources.
Great place.
And actually, inside the gallery, which is just over in the next building, is your piece on display.
Is there the print? And I have also 2 pictures.
Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff on display in there. So the people who are here present, all the people here inside the green screen hangar and people who have yet to arrive, today is day 1.
Yes.
Of the ZBrush Summit. We're talking about everything ZBrush related, but at the same time, there is here on the grounds of the Noman School of Visual Effects.
It's amazing.
It's an amazing circumstance.
All the pictures everywhere, the sculpture, everything.
Really inspiring place. I'm teaching here in the
If I
program.
had time, I would go back to school here, man.
Yeah, that was a good point, actually. You mentioned before we went live here on the cameras that you wish that you had some more time to study here as well.
I never studied 3D in school, so when I see school like that, man, it's a dream for me.
It's a really great place. The gallery, if the people haven't seen it, I would encourage everyone to go through the gallery. It's a really nice spot. There's a tremendous sculpture studio as well. A friend and colleague, John Brown, has got a whole sculpture lab in there where they do the traditional stuff. So maybe that's a place you and I should start to visit together. And I think that's more than enough. We've taken up more than enough of Damien's time. I want to thank you on behalf of myself and the entire Pixelogic team for making the trek all the way from Lyon, France to Los Angeles. You've set the bar pretty high for day 1 here. We are going to be conferencing and continue to do this ZBrush Summit thing for 3 days.
Yeah, man.
Coming up next on the main stage inside the world-famous Noman green screen hangar, we have a dynamic series of ladies from none other than the pop icon collectibles company Funko. And on behalf of myself, Louie Tucci, and Damien Canderle, I want to welcome everybody to day 1 inside the ZBrush Summit. Paul, back over to you inside the main stage with the Funko gals. So that's it. I want to thank you very much again. Thank you.